What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this one I'm going to break down what's going on with Tesla and SPY, specifically as I break down the falling wedges that are forming on them. I'm going to break down whether or not they're about to get these breakouts out of them, or are they about to get like rejections off major resistance. I'm also going to talk about what's going on with the QQQ, Nvda, and many other tickers, but before I do anything like that, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. And finally, don't forget about the Moomoo link, which is down below in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks with a $100 cash reward. The offer ends in just about 3 days, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, guys, when it comes to SPY, we can see that this thing is in a very, very interesting position. Now, one of the things that's interesting is many people may argue that, oh, we're about to get a death cross on the 50 and the 200. Well, that's a possibility. However, I wouldn't necessarily worry too much of just about that because it doesn't really show on the daily, but on the 1 hour time frame, it is a possibility. However, when you look at what the market's doing, it is making an attempt to base right over here, and we are trying to form this bullish divergence on the 1 hour time frame. Now, this was not confirmed until the after hours, so I couldn't really say too much about this yesterday. And we got more confirmation, at least during the pre-market for the time being. The market is starting to gap up a bit, but the real question is how is it going to react to some data? So just to be safe, the news is saying some, pretty decent things about the markets. We're seeing that the S&P 500 rises slightly as investors await economic data. And what data are we waiting for? Basically, all this data right over here, and the building permits data that just came out aligned with the expectations. And then don't forget that at about the next thing that's coming up that's going to be important is going to be at 10 o'clock a.m. We have the consumer confidence report coming out. That's going to be very, very important. So make sure you guys watch for that. And the house pricing index is going to come out as well. All of that's going to be important for the markets, at least for today. And then at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, we have the Dallas Fed Services Index report. That's going to be somewhat important to the markets. But just remember, during 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time and 10:30 a.m., we have all this data coming out, so it's going to affect how the market moves. But the question is, are we about to get a breakout? That's what a lot of people are probably wondering. Well, if you look at Tesla, right, we have this falling wedge-like formation. Whoopsie daisy. Falling wedge-like formation right over here, right? This thing is going to make an attempt to bounce, right? If Tesla wants to turn bullish, or at least give us some confirmation of it breaking out, it could actually push all the way up to about this 247 area. But if Tesla manages to break above that and push to about that 250, then it could be above the falling wedge and then make an attempt to break to the upside. But if Tesla gets rejected off 247, so this could get like a small bounce and retest like 247. If it rejects off this and fails to break out of this, it could come right back down and start sinking again to fill the gap down below because it hasn't fully filled the gap around the mid 230s. So we're going to be watching this resistance honestly because I can't really predict this right now as the market's going to be reacting to lots of data from consumer confidence and etc. So just watch these levels very carefully, watch that falling wedge on Tesla and see if this thing could break out or if it gets rejected off the resistance. The same thing goes for SPY. If you look at SPY, okay, this is also looking very, very tight. SPY also happens to have a falling wedge on it. These are not going to have to run exactly the same. Tesla and SPY doesn't have to be like exact. The question is it about to break out? So right now it's around like the 432. So it is actually very near the top right over here in real time. But the real question is, could we actually break above 432 and get all the way up above 433? If we get into the 433s, there's a chance it's going to break out of this and start pushing up a little bit better. And it could make its way up to attempt to fill this gap, right? That is a possibility, but it's not a guarantee until we get confirmation of the breakout. And we don't have confirmation just yet at the time I'm recording this. So watch and see if this thing could hold above the 433s, then break 434. If it gets above that, the next resistance is going to be around like 435.06. This level right over here, if we like break above this one, the high that was made right here, break resistance, and this thing has the potential to fill the gap way up here. And if it does fill the gap, that would be a bullish signal. So we're going to be watching this all very, very carefully. Could SPY get a breakout? Yes, it's a possibility. We need confirmation first. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's very important we watch for confirmation. Tesla's only up about $1.99 right now in the pre-market. Tesla needs to get all the way up to 247 plus for it to give us signals of a potential reversal. So far, it isn't really there. It's only at 243. So there's no true signal, and we're just going to watch the data that's dropping every 30 minutes after the market opens until 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, so for the first hour. So watch all that carefully. Now let's just briefly talk about a couple of other tickers. AMD, it's trying to bounce just a tiny bit, but it's not looking too strong yet because it hasn't made its way up above the 50 EMA. So I'm going to be looking for a potential retest of the 50. It is going to be gapping up, so be careful. There's going to be a gap below, most likely. But watch this resistance right over here, the 50 EMA. It got rejected here last time. If it gets above it, that could be a signal for a trend reversal. So watch that very carefully. Uh, for Neo, for example, this thing's up another 3%. Don't worry about these like glitches right over there. If Neo wants to turn bullish, we need to see this thing once again break above 8.68, then make its way closer to $9. If not, it could get rejected, make its way back to the mid eights. For the triple Q, this is trying to make its way up to 359. If it keeps pushing, we're going to be watching 360 flat to 360.92, which is where it has the 1 hour resistance. It has a lot of its EMAs around the very low 360s low 361s to high 360s. We're going to be watching resistance in this zone right here off the 15 to 200. Could the QQQ try to break out of this? It's a possibility. You could also argue that the QQQ has a falling wedge-like pattern. It's not as clean as SPY's, but you can make that argument. If it gets above 361, that could be our signal that this thing is trying to break out. And then if it holds above that, right, if it manages to hold above 361, starts pushing, you could see 363, 365 potentially, and even higher levels. So watch that all carefully. If it breaks down, if it breaks below 357.5, it could come all the way down to the 355s to fill the gap down below. It was looking very weak yesterday, but it made an attempt to bounce in the pre-market. So we're just going to have to wait and see if it could get any confirmation and hold above 361. Finally, for just a couple of other tickers, we have like Coinbase, for example. Coinbase is still up quite nicely. So if Coinbase holds above 66, this thing could go flying to 70 plus. It has a lot of potential. If you look at the 1 hour time frame, it really has potential to do so. But watch 66 on Coinbase. If it breaks that, this thing's gonna go flying. If it fails, you're gonna be watching 60.7 followed by 57.57 if it breaks below 60. Watch those levels carefully. Apple's trying to bounce off 185, and I told you guys yesterday that we might see the market make an attempt to push up in the morning if Apple bounced off 185, but there is no guarantee because Apple is still below the 50 EMA. If Apple gets above the 50 EMA, we could see Apple make an attempt to push up above 186.5, and that could help the markets. The 1 hour looks promising on Apple, but we need confirmation, which would be a break below the 50 EMA to confirm a better bounce. So we still need to wait for confirmation. If it rejects off this, it could come all the way back down below 185. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm hoping we get a bounce. The news has been positive so far, especially with the futures. If you look at Nvda, this thing is still trying to hold around this 400 area. To be bearish on this, it has to break and hold below 400. If it manages to push up, you're going to be watching this resistance right here, right? There's going to be a gap below, so it's gapping up basically, so be careful with that. But if it starts pushing up an uptrend, the next resistance is going to be around this 411 area. If Nvidia breaks above that, watch 413.69, 417.75, then 420 on Nvidia. Watch those resistance levels, and if it gets above 420, that's going to be a bullish signal. We could see Nvidia pump all the way back up to 430 to 433 if we manage to break and hold 420, then 425. But for now, I'm going to be eyeing this like 427 area as well. This is where we had this imbalance. That's going to be another level to be watching for. There's a possibility Nvidia is going to try pushing. But we have to watch if it can break above the 200 and the 50. Last but not least, for Meta, Meta is still once again trying to get a bullish cross in the 1 hour time frame, but it's getting stopped by the 50 EMA. If Meta wants to turn bullish, we have to break above it. I think Meta has a chance of doing so, but always be careful because it's going to be gapping up, if anything. If Meta gets above the 50, above this 282.5 area, we're going to see this thing fly for 285 at least and start pumping a little bit more. If it gets above that, watch 287.5, 290 as the major resistance. If it gets above 290, it's going to be very bullish for Meta. This cool off is completely normal that we saw yesterday, so watch that carefully. If it breaks down, watch support at the 200 EMA at this 277 area. If that fails us, watch 276, 275, 272, 270, then 269. Amazon, I'm trying to bounce as well. We'll have to wait and see if Amazon could continue to hold up. It did break below the 50, but it's making its way back up above the 50 EMA. If Amazon manages to hold above the 50, it could push back up to about this 132.5 area. If Amazon gets rejected off the 50, it's going to come all the way down to about 126. We're kind of in the middle. We are below the 50, so we need confirmation first to turn more bullish. But it's getting some, it has some potential right now, basically. All right, guys, so thank you all so much for listening. I know this is not like one of those videos where I break down what I could really predict. I can't really do that right now. It depends on all this data, so expect volatility at 10 o'clock a.m. and 10:30 a.m. And until then, I will see you guys very soon. Watch the falling wedges on SPY and Tesla. Be very, very careful. Be conscientious, and I want the best for everyone. I want you guys to do very well today, okay? Thank you for listening. The market to the moon as the long term is still incredibly bright, and peace out.